like a portable breathalyzer, and it's designed to keep convicted drunk drivers off the road.
So far, Illinois is the state with the most people to require them for first-time offenders.
But investigative reporter Larry Yellen found sometimes the machines bust drivers who've not been drinking.
All right, here's what I want you to do.
If you're arrested for drunk driving and you want to keep driving until your day in court, this is how you do it. It's called a breath alcohol ignition interlock device, or BAID. If you blow just a small amount of alcohol, your car won't start. And once you're driving, you have to blow every 10 or 15 minutes.
They can't drive drunk with this system, and that is the concept.
When the program began last year, the state expected more than 30,000 DUI defendants would use the devices. But we've learned less than 10,000 drivers are actually using them. DUI defense attorneys say it's because they malfunction so often that drivers would rather risk driving without them than put up with all the headaches.
What was intended to be a boon has become a boondoggle.
For starters, the devices sometimes pick up alcohol when nobody's been drinking.
We found pizza crust from certain locations tends to put a reading on a device more so than others.
That's right, a bite of pizza just before blowing can set off the device. Wonder Bread, hot dog buns, and sourdough English muffins can do it too, if drivers don't wait the suggested 15 minutes before testing.
It appears to be enriched white bread specifically when we do tests in a laboratory setting with wheat breads. We don't seem to get the influences.
The pizzas which seem to trigger the devices most often, according to DUI offenders, are pizzas like this one from Casey's General Store. Experts say it might have something to do with the amount of yeast in the crust.
You look at the baked products, you're going to have yeast and sugar, and when you're chewing it in your mouth, the question is there small amounts of alcohol being formulated?
Cough medicines, oral pain relievers, and mouthwashes do it too.
I washed with Listerine, and then I blew like a couple minutes later into my device, and it went off on me. It wouldn't let me start it.
I asked one DUI defendant to rinse with a mouthwash and then blow.
Test failed.
Some of the devices don't work well in cold weather. This driver had to get 3 new devices in the last 3 months. And sometimes he can't start his car because the device registers non-human breath.
I have to explain to my daughter what it says. And how do you explain to your daughter non-human breath?
You have the typical salesman who needs to drive his car. He gets the device installed, and he's eating his Big Mac in the car. And the device has to be blown into about every 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes on average. They get a false positive. And the next thing you know, there's a notice in the mail that they've lost their license for another 3 months.
It's Secretary of State Jesse White's office which administers the BAID program.
We feel it's working well, but we do have some changes that we think are going to improve the system as well.
The Secretary of State's spokesperson admits the BAID program has been used much less than expected. Pending legislation could make it harder for drivers to opt out. And as for those malfunctioning devices, the state admits there are problems with cold weather and some foods, but there's not a lot of sympathy for the drivers who are complaining.
You have to remember here that the people that have got to wait the 5 or 10 minutes extra have put themselves into this position by the problems that they cause by drinking and then driving.
In addition to those doughy foods and medications, some studies have found that certain soft drinks can create what's called mouth alcohol, and one study says it could even happen with a tall glass of milk. Robin and Jeff?
How about the breathalyzers that police use? I mean, same kind of issues?
The experts who we talked to said that the police do it in a controlled situation. They make sure you've had a 15 or 20-minute deprivation period where you haven't had any food or yeast or things like that you've been chewing on. And they also have more sensitive devices which can separate the mouth alcohol from alcohol registered from deep in your lungs. Remember, it's called a breathalyzer test. It's supposed to measure the alcohol in your breath, and the idea is you're exhaling from your lungs, not picking up the alcohol because you've been chewing something in your mouth.
All right, thank you, Larry.